After being married to my wife Amy for an extensive and meaningful 23 years, I find myself entangled in an incredibly painful and unexpected situation. At 50 years old, I have dedicated more than 2 decades of my life to building a family and a shared existence with Amy, who is 48. Together, we have raised 3 remarkable children: Rachel, our eldest at 22 years old, who has already embarked on her professional journey after completing college; Jake, our 19-year-old son, currently immersed in his college studies; and Ava, our youngest daughter, who is on the cusp of adulthood, turning 18 in just a month. Approximately a week ago, Amy, whom I had always regarded as the cornerstone of our family, revealed a devastating truth that completely shattered my world. She confessed that she had been involved in an extramarital affair with a co-worker named Matt, a 27-year-old man. For the sake of privacy, I'm using pseudonyms, but the agony of her betrayal is all too real. Amy disclosed that her relationship with Matt had been ongoing for 2 years, and she had finally mustered the courage to inform me. She felt that this was the appropriate time to come clean, especially since our children were either independent or living elsewhere, making it a moment when she could be honest without causing additional upheaval for them. When Amy shared this heartbreaking news, I was overwhelmed with grief. The house was eerily quiet at that moment. Rachel had moved out for work, Jake was attending college, and Ava was spending the day at a friend's place. This solitude not only provided Amy the privacy to disclose her infidelity but also left me to face the heartbreak alone. Watching Amy tearfully apologize while I struggled to contain my emotions was one of the most challenging moments of my life. She attempted to console me, expressing that she no longer wanted to remain in a loveless marriage, leaving me feeling abandoned and utterly lost. In the immediate aftermath, I was in a state of complete denial. My initial reaction was to plead with her to stay, desperately hoping that our marriage could survive this revelation. For about 30 minutes, I allowed myself to cry uncontrollably, feeling as though my entire world had crumbled. Amy remained by my side, gently patting my arm and offering comforting words, but her resolve was unshakable. Eventually, I mustered the strength to tell her to leave, unable to bear her presence any longer. This sudden shift from begging her to stay to asking her to leave was as surprising to me as it was to her. Amy quietly packed her belongings into a duffel bag, clearly having anticipated this outcome, and left the house with an awkward side hug that I couldn't bring myself to return. In the hours that followed, I felt completely broken. The realization that my marriage had ended, compounded by Amy's 2-year affair, was almost too much to bear. My children were unaware of the situation at the time, which spared them the immediate distress, but Ava returned home to find me in a state of utter devastation. She could see the red, puffy eyes from my tears and immediately sensed that something was terribly wrong. After several gentle inquiries, I finally confided in her, sharing the heartbreaking truth. Although it was embarrassing to cry in front of my daughter, her genuine comfort provided some solace during such a dark time. With Ava's support, we reached out to our siblings, informing Rachel and Jake about the situation. Additionally, we contacted my brother Eric, a dependable 45-year-old man who has always been there for me. Despite living quite a distance away, Eric responded swiftly, arriving at our home within hours to offer his support. His presence was a tremendous relief, as he took on many of the responsibilities that Amy had previously managed, helping us navigate the immediate aftermath of her departure. As the days passed, it became clear that I needed to focus on rebuilding my life for the sake of my children. Eric continued to live with us, providing much-needed assistance and emotional support. The household dynamics had shifted dramatically. Chores that Amy once handled, like laundry and cooking, now fell to Eric and me. While it felt petty to think about, these daily tasks were constant reminders of Amy's absence and the life we once shared. Legally, the situation was becoming more pressing. Although Amy had expressed her intention to leave, she hadn't yet filed for divorce, leaving me in a state of limbo. However, late one night, she called me out of the blue, sounding distressed and tearful. She revealed that Matt had rejected her, explaining that he wasn't ready for a committed relationship and didn't see a future with her. This revelation was a crushing blow, as it made her realize the gravity of her actions and left her with nowhere to turn. Feeling a mix of relief and anger, I told her there was no chance of reconciliation, firmly ending any hope she might have had of returning to our lives together. In the days that followed, Amy continued to reach out, attempting various tactics to persuade me to give our marriage another chance. Her messages were filled with guilt-tripping and gaslighting, trying to make me feel like I was the one at fault for the collapse of our relationship. However, after seeking advice and reflecting on my situation, I realized that I needed to stay strong and not let her manipulative behavior sway me. With the support of my children and Eric, I began to see that rekindling our marriage was not in my best interest or that of my family. As time went on, Amy's efforts to reconcile grew more desperate. She posted about her failed relationship with Matt online, revealing the truth about their affair and his rejection. This public confession not only validated my decision to end our marriage but also exposed Matt as someone who never truly loved Amy. Witnessing the consequences of her actions unfold publicly was both vindicating and painful, as it underscored the ripple effects of her choices on our entire family. Throughout this ordeal, my children stood by me, providing unwavering support. Rachel and Jake returned to their lives, while Ava continued to live with us, balancing her own path toward adulthood with the emotional support she offered. Eric remained a steadfast presence in our home, helping us manage both the emotional and practical aspects of our new reality. Legally, I took decisive action by filing for divorce, no longer waiting for Amy to make the move. The divorce papers were served, and Amy's reaction was as expected, filled with anger and resentment. She sent hurtful messages blaming me for her downfall and trying to portray herself as a victim. However, her attempts to shift the blame were baseless, as she had been the one to initiate the affair and disrupt our family life. Now, as we enter the negotiation phase of the divorce settlement, I feel a sense of closure. Amy's attempts to engage in the process are met with indifference, as I maintain the distance necessary for my own healing. My children have also distanced themselves from Amy, further solidifying our new family structure. While it's not the healthiest approach, given the fresh wounds, it feels necessary to protect ourselves from further emotional harm. Looking ahead, I recognize the importance of seeking professional help to navigate the emotional aftermath of this experience. Therapy will be a crucial step in helping me process the trauma and rebuild my life post-divorce. With the support of my children and Eric, I am optimistic about moving forward and leaving this painful chapter behind. In summary, the journey through Amy's betrayal and the subsequent divorce has been one of immense pain, resilience, and growth. While the scars remain, the support of my family and the steps I'm taking toward healing give me hope for a brighter future. As I continue to rebuild, I am committed to creating a stable and loving environment for my children, free from the turmoil that once threatened to tear us apart. First and foremost, I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to everyone who took the time to respond to my original post. Your support made me realize how deeply I was being gaslighted by Amy, causing me to question my decision to not let her back into my home and my life. Without your encouragement, I might have fallen back into a cycle of misery and mistrust, enduring another lifetime of the same heartache. Your responses were instrumental in helping me regain my clarity and strength, reaffirming that Amy did not deserve a second chance. It's been a few days since my initial post, and Amy has been persistently texting me, trying every possible tactic, from guilt-tripping to gaslighting, to persuade me to take her back. She continuously apologizes, claiming that her extramarital affair was a monumental mistake and pledging to make amends. However, her attempts to downplay the severity of her actions are frustrating. This isn't a trivial infidelity, she treated it casually, not recognizing the profound impact it had on our marriage and our family. Her inability to grasp the gravity of her actions makes me highly doubtful that she ever truly understands the pain she caused. Feeling significantly better now, I've sent Rachel and Jake back to their respective lives, allowing them to resume their normal routines. Ava remains with me, offering continual support and checking in regularly, which I deeply appreciate. I've encouraged her not to let my struggles hinder her from enjoying her social life and pursuing what brings her joy. This is a challenging period for all of us, but I believe we'll overcome it together. Ava is also preparing to move out for college in the fall, and I want her to make the most of her remaining time here. Eric continues to live with us, and his presence remains a blessing. Despite his lack of emotional expressiveness, his practical support has been invaluable. He manages many household tasks, alleviating some of the burdens that fell on me since Amy's departure. His steady demeanor allows me to relax and begin to let go of the constant anxiety that has plagued me since she left. Although Eric will eventually return to his own life, I'm grateful for the time he's been able to spend with us, providing the stability and support I so desperately need. Turning to the legal aspects, my lawyer and I have officially filed for divorce. We submitted the petition yesterday after realizing that Amy, having nowhere else to go, was unlikely to file for divorce on her own. This proactive step marks the beginning of the formal end to our marriage, and the divorce papers have been served. Amy's reaction to this was predictable. She was furious, as evidenced by the texts she sent me last night. She portrayed herself as the victim, claiming that I was selfish and uncaring, which is a perplexing accusation given her actions. Her messages were filled with anger and baseless accusations, blaming me for the collapse of our marriage and alleging that I had turned our children against her. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Until she confessed her affair, I had no idea that our children had blocked her and refused to speak to her. It's unfair and illogical for her to place the blame solely on me when she was the one who initiated the betrayal that tore our family apart. Her attempt to manipulate the narrative and portray herself as the wrong party is both frustrating and unfounded. Upon reading her messages, I felt a surge of anger replace my lingering sadness. It was time to move forward without her, and her attempt to seek reconciliation felt audacious and unwarranted. I made it clear to her that there would be no second chances, mirroring the way she had failed to give me one. I expressed satisfaction that she was facing the consequences of her actions, as she deserved to experience the same pain and turmoil she had inflicted upon me. Without waiting for her response, I ended the call and turned off my phone, needing to distance myself from her toxic influence and find peace. Throughout our marriage, Amy and I had experienced numerous ups and downs, as is common in any long-term relationship. However, I often found myself being the one to mend fences and seek reconciliation, even when I wasn't at fault. Her lack of apologies and continual pursuit of my forgiveness had taken a toll on me, leading me to the breaking point. I couldn't overlook her infidelity or forget the betrayal, no matter how much I wanted to salvage what we had. It was a stark reality check that forced me to confront the truth about our marriage and her true character. Legally, I felt justified in asking her to leave the house and refusing to let her return. The house is technically my property, as I was the one who purchased it, giving me the legal right to control who resides there. Amy's attempts to manipulate me into believing that I was being cruel were unfounded and baseless. She had no right to portray herself as the victim when she had initiated the very actions that led to our separation. Her behavior only highlighted her lack of empathy and understanding of the pain she caused. After finally turning my phone back on this morning, I discovered several texts from Amy sent late last night. She was furious, continuing to act like the victim despite being the one who betrayed me. Her accusations that I was selfish and not considering her feelings were absurd, especially considering her infidelity. She also claimed that I had turned our children against her, which was simply untrue, as I had no knowledge of their actions until her confession. This further solidified my belief that she was trying to shift the blame onto me unfairly. One of the most shocking revelations came when she informed me that Matt had rejected her when she asked to move in with him. Apparently, Matt wasn't ready for a committed relationship and didn't see a future with her. This realization left her with nowhere to turn and forced her to confront the consequences of her actions. Hearing that Matt had no genuine intentions towards her was a form of poetic justice, as it underscored the superficiality of their affair. It was clear that Amy had made a grave mistake, and now she was facing the fallout of her decisions. Amy also shared that our children were no longer communicating with her, having blocked her from all their channels without any explanation. She had been living in a hotel for the past week, unsure whether I would take her back or not. Her breakdown and desperate call to me were signs that she couldn't handle the situation on her own anymore. Her request to live with me and give our marriage another chance was met with disbelief and anger on my part. Her audacity to seek forgiveness after the immense pain she caused was infuriating, and I couldn't fathom why she thought I would easily forgive her betrayal. In response, I made it unequivocally clear that there would be no second chance, just as she hadn't given me one. I expressed my relief that she was now experiencing the repercussions of her actions, believing that she deserved every bit of the turmoil she had brought into our lives. Without waiting for her response, I ended the call and turned off my phone, needing to protect myself from her manipulative tactics and move forward with my life. Reflecting on our marriage, I realized that I had always loved Amy more deeply than she loved me, despite her actions. I had been the one to chase after her, to mend our relationship, even when she rarely apologized or took responsibility for her mistakes. This relentless effort had taken its toll, leading me to the point where I could no longer overlook her infidelity or the pain it caused. Asking her to leave the house and refusing to let her return was a necessary step towards reclaiming my life and finding peace. This morning, upon checking my phone, I found several more texts from Amy sent late last night. She was furious, acting as if I was the one at fault, accusing me of being selfish and uncaring. These accusations were baseless and frustrating, especially considering her actions had been the catalyst for our separation. She also claimed that I had turned our children against her, which was entirely untrue. Until her confession, I had no idea that Rachel, Jake, and Ava had blocked her and refused to communicate with her. It's unfair and illogical for her to place the blame solely on me when she was the one who initiated the betrayal that tore our family apart. Her attempt to manipulate the narrative and portray herself as the victim is both infuriating and unfounded. I couldn't help but feel angry that she was trying to shift the blame onto me, making it seem as though I was the one causing the rift in our family. Her actions were a reflection of her own shortcomings, not mine, and it was time for me to move forward without her. A few hours ago, I learned from my daughter Rachel that Amy is now embroiled in online drama with Matt. Yesterday, she posted a rant on social media about how Matt had led her on for 2 years before ultimately rejecting her because he didn't see a future with her. Reflecting on it, her decision to abandon our life without discussing these issues with Matt first was incredibly short-sighted. While I'm not someone who engages in infidelity, Amy should have considered the consequences of her actions and communicated openly with Matt about her intentions and expectations. Further exacerbating the situation, a couple of other female co-workers commented on Amy's post, revealing that Matt had also been involved with them. Essentially, Matt had been the office mattress, engaging in multiple affairs without any genuine affection or commitment to Amy. This revelation was a clear example of karma at work, as Matt's behavior mirrored the deceit and betrayal he had inflicted upon Amy and, by extension, our family. It was vindicating to see that Amy's actions were catching up with her, exposing Matt as someone who never truly loved her. Feeling a sense of poetic justice, I decided to block Amy and Rachel from my contacts to distance myself from the ongoing drama. Amy discovered this through a cousin who still had her contact information, as we hadn't yet informed the rest of the family about our separation. Her public posts about her failed relationship served as a self-sabotaging act, further isolating her from those who mattered most. Although it was tempting to revel in the unfolding drama, I chose to focus on my own healing and the well-being of my children. Looking forward, I plan to inform the rest of my family about the separation soon. For now, I want to take a step back and observe the consequences of Amy's actions from a distance, allowing the situation to resolve itself naturally. Watching her struggle with the fallout of her affair and the public humiliation was a stark reminder of the repercussions that come with deceit and betrayal. Despite the chaos, I found some solace in knowing that Matt's true character was being exposed. His pattern of engaging in multiple affairs without any real commitment highlighted the superficiality of his relationship with Amy. It was satisfying to see that his actions were finally catching up with him, serving as a fitting punishment for his role in our family's disintegration. A little over a month has now passed since my original post, and we are actively engaged in the negotiations for our divorce settlement. It's remarkable how my feelings toward Amy have completely shifted. During our meetings, she occasionally smiles and tries to engage in conversation, but I consistently avoid her and maintain a respectful distance. To the best of my knowledge, she is currently living with a friend and has been terminated from her previous job. Given her very public admission of infidelity on social media, I don't anticipate needing to provide her with any alimony. Her open confession of cheating essentially serves as her own admission of guilt, removing the need for me to present evidence against her in court. Our children continue to maintain their distance from Amy, with Rachel and Jake having cut off all communication with her. We have collectively decided to pretend that she no longer exists in our lives, a coping mechanism that, while not entirely healthy, feels necessary given the fresh emotional wounds. We agreed to address the deeper emotional impacts once some time has passed and the immediate pain has subsided. Personally, I am faring much better than I was when I first shared my story. The initial shock and despair have gradually given way to a more stable and manageable state of mind. I plan to begin therapy in a few days once the divorce is finalized, believing that professional help will aid in my continued healing and help me process the trauma of the past months. Today, Amy was officially served with the divorce papers, and as anticipated, she did not take it well. Her reaction was intense and filled with bitterness, as reflected in the vile messages she sent me afterward. She expressed anger and resentment, blaming me for ruining her life and accusing me of taking revenge for her own misguided attempts to find happiness. She criticized me for trying to distract myself from her monotonous life and even made derogatory comments about my appearance, claiming that my age and physical state were reasons she sought a change. While it's true that I've stopped going to the gym and my hairline is receding, these are natural signs of aging that any person would experience over time. I'm not unattractive or unhealthy, I've maintained a decent level of fitness appropriate for my age. Her expectations that I remain youthful and unchanged since our marriage in our early 20s are unrealistic, unless one is a celebrity with the means to sustain such an appearance indefinitely. Her perception of Matt as more physically attractive than me misses the point of a committed marriage, which is built on more substantial foundations than mere appearances. Amy's inability to maintain control over herself and her decision to pursue an affair with Matt were driven by her desire for excitement and novelty, not a genuine connection. Her focus on superficial aspects of a relationship, like physical attractiveness, ignores the deeper emotional bonds that sustain a marriage. It's pathetic that she is still trying to shift the blame onto me, suggesting that I should have changed myself to meet her unrealistic standards, rather than acknowledging her own failings and the harm she caused our family. Only now, as I prepare to move forward without her, am I truly recognizing the red flags I had ignored for over 2 decades out of love and loyalty. Seeing Amy as my soon-to-be ex-wife has opened my eyes to the reality of her character, making me regret not acknowledging these issues sooner. Admitting that I still have some residual feelings for her is both embarrassing and disheartening, but it's something I need to confront as part of my healing process. This lingering affection has prevented me from fully blocking her and cutting her off, but I am determined to find the strength to do so soon, as I cannot continue to endure her manipulative and destructive behavior. The journey through Amy's betrayal and the ensuing divorce has been one of immense pain, resilience, and personal growth. While the scars of this experience remain, the unwavering support of my family and the proactive steps I'm taking toward healing provide me with hope for a brighter future. As I continue to rebuild my life, I am committed to creating a stable and loving environment for my children, free from the turmoil that once threatened to dismantle our family. The lessons learned from this ordeal have reinforced the importance of resilience, support, and self-care, guiding me as I move forward into a new chapter of my life.